What's up, everybody? I am back and I'm not going to be on for long, but I wanted to just talk about something really quickly that I saw. I caught this blog, and people are kind of talking about the layoffs that have been going on as part of the DOGE program. And a lot of people, Trump supporters specifically, they are not happy with Elon Musk and the role that Trump has designated him to be in. And, again, I look at Doge two ways. I look at it as if this is going to cut unnecessary government spending, then we need to do what we need to do. But, again, we do have to kind of look at, and I've always said this, the United States government is a business. It is a business. It operates like a business. And a lot of times when you have businesses come in, they have new administrations, new leadership. A lot of times they will cut the fat. They will start laying people off, right? Because obviously they're trying to budget, they're trying to balance their budget, and they're trying to do what is necessary to get back on track. So, you know, I look at, I've been furloughed before. And if you've ever been laid off before, it's not a great feeling. Nobody, most times people aren't really thinking they're going to get laid off. They're not planning their everyday life around being laid off. And regardless of what your political position is, being laid off is never a fun thing. It is for depending on your lifestyle, this it could be a drastic financial hit for people. So the fact that there are people on the internet who are actually laughing at the people who are getting laid off and fired, it's like, I think that that is just really disgusting. I mean, you can agree with, you know, a and you can agree with what Doge is doing without celebrating or overtly being ignorant, towards these federal workers. And just because you think that they're all liberals, right? Because that's what a lot of these people who are trolling, the people who are getting laid off right now, I think in their mind, they're thinking because we're coming off of a Biden administration that everybody that was working in the government that Trump is laying off, these are all liberals. These are all DEIs. And it's like, that's not true. When you're making cuts in departments, they're not making those decisions based on if a person is a liberal or conservative. So a lot of these people who are on the mic and they're devastated, they voted for Trump, but they're now laid off employees or whatever like that. There are also a lot of, there's a lot of liberal people who are saying the same thing. And I'm not sure if some of these Trump supporters thought that because they were Trump supporters that they would be safe. But if you work in a department or an area that is would be deemed unnecessary or there's too much fat there, right? Then like any other administration that will move into any corporation, they're going to cut that fat. And again, I think if people started looking at the United States government as a corporation, right, they will understand that this is what he's doing is not anything that any other corporation didn't do before. But again, when you're talking about when the Biden administration went in, the first thing they started, doing is cutting like oil production, right? A lot of people working on Keystone, there's a lot of people that were laid off, right? And I didn't see anybody celebrating those people's layoffs like they're celebrating these federal workers layoff. And I'm just trying to see, like, did I miss something? Is this a special bunch of federal workers? Because it seems as though people are getting laid off and fired indiscriminately, regardless of if they're a Democrat or a Republican. And for that, I don't think anybody should be celebrating, making a mockery of these people. I mean, this is like, I mean, even, I mean, Fox News, let me go here for a second. Jesse Waters. I guess Jesse has been having a field day with the DOGE thing, just talking about people getting DOGE, another department getting DOGE. And he's talking about, you know, these things obvious from a departmental level, but he's not looking at the fact that there are humans working in these departments.
He's probably going to get laid off. He's going to get DOGE. This guy's not a DEI consultant. This guy's not a climate consultant. You know, this guy is a veteran. We just need to be a little bit less callous with the way, Harold, we talk about doging people. Okay, I want that to sink in. You're arguing with yourself.
I mean, and this sounds so inhuman, the way that Fox News allowed Jesse Waters to cover what DOGE was doing. If he wanted to talk about, you know, hey, we're cutting waste here, this is something unnecessary, something that, you know, bipartisan wise people could agree with, I get that. But you just talk about, oh, these people getting DOGE. These are real people, right? And, you know, one will argue, well, you know, you were just talking about Joy Reid being fired. I mean, first of all, I'm celebrating Joy Reid being fired because she was an overt black looking racist, in my opinion. And I don't think people like her sometimes are very useful to any type of conversation because they spew hate and vitriol in a non-constructive way. And even though there are things that I have heard Joy Reid say that absolutely may be true, you know what I mean? There's a lot of other things that she said, many other things. I'm like, this is divisive, it's hateful, it's not going to help any conversation in this nation. It's going to fan the flames of ignorant positions. But a lot of people had a consensus about Joy Reid, whether you were on the right or the left. I've been seeing commentary from people on both sides. They were just irritated with, you know, some of the stuff that Joy was saying. She's part of that boule. And I think that, you know, a lot of people are just tired of the black boule, those leverageable black face people who really don't serve black people. They serve somebody else. And she was definitely talking a lot about white daddy, white this, white people that. And they the ones signing your paycheck. Them folks are the ones signing your paycheck. So Joy Reid was just like, girl, bye. She was girl bye all day, but you cannot conflate a Joy Reid, people kind of celebrating her termination, with people celebrating the firing of these individuals from these federal agencies, right? Because a lot of these people, they just were people applying to a job. They may not have even had any consciousness that their job was over capacity, it had too much head count. They may not have been aware that their job would have been deemed useless to the Trump administration, right? These are just people applying to jobs. So when they're letting go of all these people, and the IRS, I'm sorry, unfortunately, a lot of those agents should have known better. When the Biden administration was talking about they're going to hire 87,000, 85,000 new IRS agents by X, Y, and Z. Like, I mean, number one, don't nobody want the IRS just all up in their taxes like that. That just seemed like they had like a sniper force on the people. You had an agent damn near for every couple of thousand people, it seemed like. But that is just to say that, you know, some of those cuts may or may not be necessary. We don't really know. I mean, but at the same time, I would say that if you're a person out there mocking the federal employees that have been terminated, making little TikTok videos, little obnoxious videos. Like, I was looking at a set of videos, and at first I was kind of confused as to what I was hearing. And then I realized these are conservatives mocking the people, the federal employees that were laid off. And I don't know if these idiots think that all of those employees were just all liberals, but they weren't. So you're mocking your own people.
I am not guilty of that. I finally found one person I knew that got DOGE, and it hit me in the heart.
Well, that's...
I mean, come on. Like, and I can't even believe Fox News will let him just ignorantly talk about things like that.
You're fired. DOGE is dishing out spankings like daddy daycare. It's like going to your grandparents' house, throwing out their VCR and their stacks of tapes, just downloading Netflix for them. Here, Grandpa, you just hit this button here and press select. Even the holiday weekend couldn't slow DOGE down. There was a huge exodus over at the National Archives. Persnickety librarians were getting DOGed silly.
So, I mean, I don't know these librarians. I'm sure Jesse Waters don't know these librarians, right? But nevertheless, they were people who were hired to do a job. They applied to a job. They went there and did that, whether or not they understood if the job was useful or not, right? Why are you trolling these people for getting fired? Like, that's an economic devastation. And the difference between these people getting fired and a Joy Reid is some of them weren't making millions of dollars a year. I mean, just because you work from the government doesn't mean that a lot of times you just making over 100K across the board in some of these positions. And I just think that that is just kind of wicked and evil for people to just be out here trolling other people. It really tells us, like, when you look at these TikTok videos of some of these people trolling some of these people who are getting fired and laid off, it's like, you know, you're telling us about your character. So this is a white woman, right? She's talking about this sucks. And she's using the tear filter, right? Because in her little simple brain, she thinks that only liberals were let go or only liberals were being doged. So here she is trolling. And these are, and I'm not sure if these are, I mean, these are supposed to be conservatives trolling the people who are being impacted by the cuts that are coming out of DOGE.
Like going through, he's having Elon go through all of this stuff to like see where America's taxpayer dollars are going to, and like they're finding so much corruption, and I just wish that they would stop because it's really like none of their business, and I enjoy paying my taxes to other countries, and I love that it goes into like other people's pockets and instead of mine.
I mean, and I would say that her troll is a kind of like, even though DOGE is doing that too, when we look at the mass layoffs, right? The mass layoffs that are happening, we're not talking about cuts to other programs. We're talking about TSA, right? We're talking about like some pretty IRS. Where's this guy at? He gives us a nice little catalog of what was late. This is a girl. She was working at the IRS. Okay, let's hear what you're saying, fella.
Has fired the... Good afternoon, federal employee friends. You get a midday update on the federal employee firings. There's been some changes, some we expected, some that caught me off guard a little bit. The IRS has fired 7,000 federal employees. The Department of Defense, specifically the U.S. Army, U.S. Air Force, and U.S. Navy, have started sending out letters for their federal employees. Now, a couple that caught me off guard and I didn't expect. The Transportation Security Administration, TSA, fired 300 to 400 employees today. That was confirmed to me by a supervisor at the airport I'm in right now. Also, we have Department of Homeland Security, Sciences and Technology Directorate, and Department of State. I don't have any information on who at Department of State, at the State Department, but it has been confirmed to me that they have rolled up their probationary lists and the firings will be forthcoming. That's all I have for now. I might not have any more information since I'm flying pretty much for the rest of the day into the late evening on the East Coast, but I'll try to get something out if I can. Otherwise, again, sorry for the bad news.
Now, you know,
because I've been let go of this job and our entire, because of Trump, I've just been let go. I've just lost my job. As a matter of fact, our whole entire department lost their jobs. I was one of the head research analysts for a specific department, and we were in charge of discovering who let the dogs out.
And see, this is these people trolling these people, because obviously the whole purpose of DOGE is we're cutting waste, right? That's basically what the whole purpose of DOGE is that we're cutting waste. So these people are getting on the mic and they're basically trolling, right? He's like, I just been let go from my job of who let the dogs out. I think the other dude, he got laid off from a transportation, and he was talking about, I guess the wheels on the bus do go round and round. I'm like, y'all some evil ass people. The devil is in some of these people.
I'm going to do. I'm 50. I'll be 51 this year. Nobody's going to hire me. It's age discrimination. They took the DEI out, so I'm not a protected status anymore. I don't even know how to fill out these new applications online. Have you guys seen that? Everything's online. And they offered us 8 months of paid leave, but we didn't think it was real. Like, we thought you guys were going to protect us because we voted for humanity. I mean, every time they've done any kind of assessment on me, I've gotten bonuses, I've gotten paid vacation time, I've got pay raises. I do a great job. I don't deserve this. If you've watched this more, I'm just mimicking everything I've heard about these federal employees losing their jobs. Guess what? You work for us. And a lot of us don't appreciate you trying to guilt us because you were offered 8 months buyout package. I mean, when my husband was laid off 3 months ago.
Now, is that true? Were these federal employees, some of them not? I guess I'm trying to figure out how what she's saying makes sense, because Trump has only been in office for a month, right? Is she alluding to, a federal employee? They were offered a buyout package 8 months ago. So, I mean, is that to say that just 8 months ago, these changes were known to be down the pipeline? I'm not sure what she's really mimicking, because that don't really make any sense. Nobody who was offered some type of separations package 8 months ago, should be surprised about what's going on with DOGE. I'm a little confused about this. No, it's for, okay, let me go back. She said, because
offered 8 months buyout package.
Okay, they were 8 months buyout.
Okay,
I got it. I'm sorry.
He showed up for work that day and got a pink slip on a Wednesday. That's it. No payday for Thursday or Friday. Go get a new job. No warning, no nothing. That is the reality of when you get laid off.
That is true.
You know that private insurance that you have that you're not explaining to all these people feeling sorry for you? Did you guys know that federal employees get a totally different type of insurance than everybody else in America stuck on Obamacare? Yeah, research that for a second. Not to mention they can retire after 20 years with a full retirement and Social Security. I'm sorry. We don't feel bad for you.
Okay, well, she's kind of sounding like a hater in a little bit, because you can go and get that same damn package. Like, that sounds like a hater to me. But to her point, and thank you for calling that out, 8 months severance, right? If I was offered that, and I knew that Trump was running on a lot of things that suggested that he was going to be making some drastic changes to America and cuts, I would have just took it. I mean, I would have just took it because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who regret that they didn't take it if that was indeed offered. It doesn't sound like I'm not hearing a lot of these federal employees saying that they were offered any type of packages. You said the fired ones get 8 months severance and benefits. I mean, I mean, honestly, that's better than a lot of people who get laid off. If that is the case with, these federal employees who are laid off, that is a better deal than a lot of people who are laid off because you have plenty of time to replace your employment and get another job. And sometimes it takes about 8 months to find another job. So they better get busy. You can't just be sitting there, I'm going to chill take a vacation for the next 3 months. No, you don't got that kind of time, right? 8 months go by really, really fast. So you need to be getting them applications out there, right? But yeah, that is insane. You said Trump said it in the press conference. So, I mean, again, these people, if these people are getting an 8 month severance plus benefits, it's like, it's kind of hard to feel sorry for them. I'm not going to be out here mocking these people, but I've seen people separated from jobs. I've been involved in mass layoffs. I've had to lay off people before, and they didn't get that type of package at all. It was just, you're out of there. Sorry. Here's your end date, right? We'll call you back if it's a furlough, possibly, right? They don't get anything like that. So, I mean, I don't feel too bad for some of these federal employees who have been laid off. I mean, you love your job. I'm sorry. But that's kind of how the layoff game works a lot of times. A lot of people have been laid off that love their jobs, but, life is life. But if you got a severance package like that, I wouldn't be out there bitching at all. I mean, because that's just way better than a lot of people in the private sector get. And that's just, we're at 100. Thanks, Sabrina. And how are you, beautiful? Take the money and get another job. I feel you. I really do feel you. I do. I agree with this lady. I would not be sitting here mimicking these folks, right? Because again, layoffs is still a devastation, right? You still have to make adjustments. You still got to go out into the market, find another job that you can do that's comparable to the wages that you were making before. And a lot of times, like they said, it's hard to get a job in the government. If they're laying off, you got to go to the private sector, right? And a lot of times the private sector, they'll pick up a lot of these government people because they would perceive them as being competent. So, I mean, Trump is kicking the private sector off a good talent base of people to tap into as well. So, to our earlier conversation, guys, there are a base of Americans to tap into. There really is. I'm definitely not a hater. I would have taken a government job if it was qualified and offered to me. I mean, right on. Here's the thing. I would say that she's sounding like a hater, in a way, but I get what she's saying. But it's like, again, government jobs, they do offer certain, levels of protection. Some people covet those jobs because of the level of protection that they could get. And honestly, typically with government jobs, you can pretty much stay in them for quite some time. They are jobs that you can actually retire from, unlike the private sector, right? But these people are going to have to probably go into the private sector, right? But 8 months severance with benefits, please. I ain't even feeling sorry for y'all because people in the private sector would never get that. More of the times than not, it's based off a time on job a lot of times, right? But most of the times, people are not getting severance packages like that. So I don't feel sorry for them. She shouldn't compare the two. I agree. I absolutely agree. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think, because I was talking about Joy Reid earlier, and I was talking to somebody I know, and I was like, yeah, I just think it's pretty shitty that people blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, you were talking about Joy Reid. And I'm like, but that's just not the same to me. It's not the same, sort of, being relieved or celebrating a person like Joy Reid being terminated from her position, right? Because she was a toxic force in that position versus, individuals working in jobs that they've been grandfathered. Some of them have been there 15, 16, 17 years. Some of them, it was the only job they had. And so, I'm not about to troll those people. They are regular people. Even with the severance package, yeah, they got a little cushion, a little safety net there, right? But nevertheless, if you've ever loved your job, if you've ever liked your job, if you've ever been at a job for like 10 plus years, right? The whole separation concept is also there. You know what I mean? That job was a routine, right? And so I'm not about to sit up there and troll those people, right? Because that is a change in their routine that they have to readjust. They have to pivot, right? And even though they have a cushion while they do it, it's nevertheless still devastating for people. And again, it's not the same as a Joy Reid who was making millions of dollars a year to spit vitriol on air. I mean, that's just a different type of celebration, in my opinion. One is very, very evil and inhuman, and the other is like, we've been delivered from the evil that comes out of certain people's mouths. So I don't see it the same. Postal service, if you get a career appointed after 6 years, layoff in the contract for carriers and clerks. The way I understand it, if you type the word resign, you got the severance. If you type the word resign, you got the severance. If you didn't and got fired, you don't get the severance. Oh, so they wanted voluntary resignations. And that's where she was saying that these people who were offered that, they didn't take them seriously. Oh, okay. Now I get what she was saying, because she was kind of trolling the people who, let me go back to what this lady was saying for a second, because okay, hang on.
Been working for the federal government for over 20 years. I didn't vote for this. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm 50. I'll be 51 this year. Nobody's going to hire me. It's age discrimination. They took the DEI out, so I'm not a protected status anymore. I don't even know how to fill out these new applications online. Have you guys seen that? Everything's online. And they offered us 8 months of paid leave, but we didn't think it was real. Like, we thought you guys were going to protect us because...
Okay, yeah, see, again, she's trolling these people, but at the same time, she doesn't realize that there is a lot of age discrimination out in the market. And there are a lot of people who have worked in certain places and certain antiquated systems and with certain systems for so long that they've never had to really go outside of those systems. And so, I mean, I wouldn't be mocking people because of that, because a lot of those people who are 50 plus, they are going to have a hard time finding another job, and especially another job at the pay level that they think that they deserve to have. It's just not going to happen, and that's going to be a really weird reality for them, if it's not already a reality. And I don't think that that's a reality that this woman should be trolling. And honestly, be careful how you troll other people, because this does not look like a spring chicken, and thank God you have your husband. But if this woman had to go back out into the job market for whatever reason, she'd know exactly what some of these women who are over 50 that just got laid off, how they actually feel, because it's not going to be easy. You're going to be having this mindset of your worth in a market where they're like, you better take what you can get, because we can get you much younger and much cheaper. So don't play with us, lady. So hopefully this woman never gets laid off, never loses her husband's income for whatever reason, to have to go out into the market as an over 50 woman and have to understand what these over 50 women who have just been laid off are going through. And to her point, if you've been at a place for 20 years, right? And again, you're not thinking about the political climate. Maybe you're just a regular person working, right? If you've been working at a place for 20 years and they're like, hey, now me personally, I would have took it, because to me, if they're out there offering severances, that's just writing on the wall that the company is trying to cut, right? The company is trying to cut, and they're giving you a chance to just voluntarily cut before they devastate you with the firing. So it seems like to me, some of these people, they didn't really take the voluntary resignation seriously. And so it just got to the firing. But here's my whole thing. Trump's only been in office for a little bit over a month. I mean, to me, this is all moving kind of fast. Like, this is moving really, really, really fast. So, I mean, obviously, Trump had a plan of where he wanted to cut before he even got here. This is not something that they're just doing, right? They are executing these cuts, to me, with a previous plan. So, yeah, change is scary, but I mean, I think the reality of the matter is, every time, if you've ever worked at a company that's been acquired by a bigger company, right, a lot of times they may start firing people here and there because they want to bring their own people into the mix. And, obviously they'll be looking for opportunities to cut costs, right, so that they could, divert funds to maybe more productivity or investment, right? And so, again, the United States operates like a business. So with Trump and what they're doing with the DOGE, it's not really anything that you wouldn't see from a normal business that is in debt and needs to dig its way out. They're going to snowball it, right? So they're going to start with the little things first. And that's just pretty much what I feel like they are doing. And so we'll see. But I do pray for those who have been recently laid off from their jobs. That is nothing to troll people about, whether they were smart enough to understand that resigning with the 8-month severance was the smartest thing to do, or they're basically fired, left high and dry. We pray for these people. I don't think that we should be out here trolling these people. And I do think that just kind of wicked people have time to do that. Only wicked people have time to do that. And again, I think some of these conservative people really do believe that somehow DOGE is saving all the conservatives from these cuts, and all of these cuts are only impacting liberal federal workers. And as a lot of these conservative people who are on the microphone are saying, actually, no, they're cutting, these cuts are impacting us as well. So I saw this guy wrote a letter to Elon and Trump. He had been let go from his job after 16 years, and he said, I really support what you're doing, federal. I understand why you're doing what you're doing with DOGE, but this is me. And he's basically out there asking Trump and Elon to kind of help him out. But again, this is, this dude is like, help me, like, screw all them other people, right? Help me out. I voted for you all 3 times, right? But we shall see what becomes of this. We do pray for everybody who have been laid off. And, we rebuke those people who are out there trolling these poor folks, whether you agree with their position in the government, whether you agree with their political position. At the end of the day, those were still just people who applied to a job, whether or not that job was useful or not, that wasn't their job to know. They weren't going to those federal jobs assessing whether or not their job was useful, right? They just were doing their job. So, We need to be a little bit more scrupulous about how we just saying shit. And I'm really going to give the conservative media an F, right? They're going to fuck it up. Trust and believe that shift back to the liberal, at least a center, it's going to happen because the conservatives will find a way to screw up any type of wins that they have because they want to be petty, childish, beta people just doing shit. And I'm sorry, Elon, all right, y'all. That's like I said, it's like Make-A-Wish Foundation on steroids. This is Make-A-Wish Foundation for billionaires, in my opinion. Like Elon was like, I've always wanted to be in the government. I've always really wanted to be in the government, right? I have a very, I don't know, like, Roman mindset, right? And the guy seems to romanticize Rome. He's probably a Mithras. He's probably one of those Mithras type of folks. But, I just feel like, he needs to pipe down a little bit. Somebody need to give him like some little, is Ritalin still on the market, right? Tell his ass to calm down. They need to get him some Ritalin. What's the new drug for Ritalin? Back when I was a kid, they were pumping the kids with Ritalin who had imaginations, and they labeled them ADD just so that they could push those drugs on kids and tame little boys from their natural states of curiosity and being hunters and gatherers, right? I realized that they created those drugs, Ritalin. They were pumping little boys with that stuff left and right? And all the while, they were pumping those little boys with Ritalin because they were just normal little boys. They didn't want to sit there in a structured and regimented classroom and listen to somebody redundantly talk to them, especially a woman. You guys, we do need some reform in America for more common sense people. But anyways, you guys, that's all I got. I wanted to just get on the mic because we got to be more human to each other. I think a lot of times the politics, it just brings out the ugly in people. It just brings off to the ugly in people. And, they don't, it's like they disconnect from humanity. It's like you got folks out here completely disconnected from humanity. And this is why I say I am staunchly independent. And I think that, somebody used to tell me, because I went from like having more of a liberal mindset to having more of a conservative mindset. And now I'm just staunchly independent. And I think that's the real elevation right there, is getting to a point where you are right in the middle and you don't have any commitment to any of this stuff. Because I feel like when you are committed to political parties, you lose your humanity, and I was just talking to a friend of mine. It's like, I remember a time when it was taboo to talk about religion and politics because they inflame people so much. And although I do believe that such discourse are necessary, I do feel like, you need to have, better facilitators of those conversations. I don't think that just any and everybody should just be flexing their emotions on those conversations. And that's what Americans have been overloaded with on both sides. So we will see. Under your leadership, we had drag queens and I don't know who you're talking about, because I wasn't a leader of anything. And if I was a leader of something, that's not what you would have. So just don't come into my chat just saying shit. Let me go over here so I can see what these ignorants are saying. Lord, you always got your special folks coming in just saying shit, and I just gotta block them unapologetically. You said in your party this is the ignorant, some of these ignorant conservatives, they don't listen to comprehend. So they just come into chats flexing their low comprehensions and IQs. And then they feel like they said something profound. So Bob's not paying attention. Bob is not paying attention. Off to the corner you go, Bob. Um, or not Bob, whoever. There's Bob Cox, and then there's somebody else up here. Bob, not you. Whoever just flexing and saying stuff. Did I delete him? Bobby, not Bob. Bob Cox is cool. Bobby Murphy. You just come in saying shit without listening. So we're gonna have to give you a warning, and then we're gonna hurt your feelings and get you out of here. But I tell people to love thy neighbor. I like to close my live streams a lot of times with love your neighbor as yourself. If you would not disrespect or abuse yourself, do not disrespect or abuse your neighbor. And it goes to the fundamental of treat people how you want to be treated. See, a lot of times that whole mindset of fuck around and find out, or FAFO or whatever, is really what goes around comes around. And a lot of people operate like what goes around don't come back around. And then when it hits them, then all of a sudden they're victimized by the same shit that they put out. And now they want everybody to feel sorry for them. And this is why, I think that it's just really important to understand, how do I want to be treated? And then translate that to other people, right? I wouldn't just go around people's chats just saying shit, right? I always feel like if you don't have anything meaningful to say, it is okay to shut the hell up. Sometimes listening is better than just saying shit. And a lot of people, they are conditioned. I don't know if they got like the Elon thing or whatever to just say shit. And we don't need that in society. We've had a lot of that in societies, and it never really worked out well. I am not a liberal, so can I call you a confused homosexual? Like, what is, since we just gonna say some stuff, like, come on now, just let me block this ape. And this is the thing, you got the little trolls that come out just saying shit, right? And they don't even know what the hell they talking about. They don't even listen to comprehend. When I say that I'm staunchly independent, what part of me being liberal does that translate? See, a lot of white people, they see, and not all white people, but some, especially on the conservative side, they see a black face that's not sucking conservative cock. And they automatically assume that we're all liberals. And it's like, no, some of us hate both of your parties. Some of us don't want to be on either one of your teams. You know what I mean? And some of these conservatives, they act like they're on such a moral high horse. It's like, you are Satanists. A lot of you belong to your father, the devil. And a lot of y'all belong to the synagogues and churches of Satan. And I'm sick of all of y'all. So don't come over here, you're liberal because you're black. It's like, man, don't get me to start talking about your mama. Don't get me to start talking about your mama, all right? Because we blame the mamas for bringing these ignorant ass people into society. I blame the mamas all day. It will always be the mama's fault while we got these low value, ignorant ass people in society. And, that's just me, because it is the women's job to guide, direct, and mentor the children. We are the first mentors in society for our children. So when I see a rude, overtly rude, weird person, I always conclude that he had an ain't shit mama. And we not going to tolerate you putting her shit on us. I'll just block your rude ass and leave you for her ass. Anyways, you guys, Jay-Z apparently is getting vindicated. Tony Busby. And I've been saying the stuff about this Jay-Z and Diddy stuff that I am await and see what happens. Because I think that, a lot of this stuff coming from Tony Busby, right? I think that he's going to screw that case up with Diddy. right? Diddy has a lot of, with the Jay-Z lawsuit, there's a lot of reasons to discredit a lot of the stuff that Busby is alleging against Diddy. And he does look like that shakedown kind of guy. So apparently he's been barred from practicing law in certain areas in New York. It was the Southern District of New York has barred him from practicing or litigating in that district. It's like you mess around with Jay-Z and Jay-Z will get your ass barred. And I'm pretty sure Jay-Z is not playing with this man at all. And I'm pretty sure Tony Busby, after seeing that, it's like not only was Jay-Z vindicated, right? Now your ass is sitting up there barred from litigating in certain districts. These lawyers better stop playing with some of these people. They are so used to the practice of shaking down wealthy people who are like, I don't want to go through the embarrassment, so I'm just going to settle to hush it up. Some of these celebrities, they are hip to the game now. And it's like, okay, you going to sit up there and try to set me up to fail. I'm pulling all the stops. A lot of these celebrities are prepared for stuff like that. And I don't think that Jay-Z has a bad lawyer. Alex Spiro is, to me, I don't feel like Alex Spiro is nothing to play with. And I've said that before. And it's like when you are fucking with his clients, you are literally fucking with him. And I'm sorry. You know, there are just certain people you don't want to just sit around antagonizing just by reputation. And I believe is Alex Spiro an Ashkenazi Jewish guy? You don't really want to pick enemies or have them as your enemies at all, because they will literally go the distance with destroying you, right? And that's why I always say anti-Semitism is horrible. You actually want to have some alignment with the good ones, because it's like, shoot, they will keep your ass out of trouble. And Jay-Z has proven that once again. Tony Busby better not ever go up against Alex Spiro again. So don't play with the Ashkenazis, okay? Just don't play with them. It's not really a smart thing. And so shout out to Alex Spiro for looking out for his client. Again, don't play with these people, some of them, because it's like you fucking with their clients, you fucking with them, and it's never going to be something that you want. So Tony Busby better be careful. He better be careful, you know, because I wonder why Alex Spiro didn't represent Diddy. I guess that was too much conflict of interest. He's like, nah, Jay's my client. I don't want to be sharing shit, because if your shit really do hit the fan, my job is to protect Jay, right? But vindication, man can't even litigate law in the Southern District of New York because he went after Jay-Z. That's called power. Anyways, you guys have, yeah, but you're saying that, I'm not saying free Diddy. What is wrong with you people? I'm not saying free Diddy. That's not, nothing that I said alluded to that. What I said is that the Tony Busby cases, these fluff cases, some of this stuff that Jay-Z has been vindicated, you know, concerning, right, that directly linked to Diddy, because Tony Busby was going after Diddy too, it sort of discredits anything that he's doing with Diddy too, because if Jay-Z can sit here and prove that you are a coordinated liar and that you can just get people out here just saying shit so that you can shake down celebrities, right? Diddy has now a paper trail of this lawyer having a track record of this. And not only that, does he have a track record of trying to shake down rich celebrities, he's also lost his license in the Southern District of New York, right? Because he tried to shake down a celebrity. So I am not saying free Diddy. You're saying that. What I'm saying is that a lot of the credibility of anything that he would have against Diddy, it kind of goes out the door because he went after Jay-Z. And Jay-Z was able to vindicate himself. So it just calls into question the credibility of the other cases that he's working on that is connected with Diddy. That is going to come into question. And so No, I'm not saying free Diddy. I'm saying that Diddy could, at least see some of these charges go away because they could be seen as a shakedown and not really substantiated. I mean, Tony Busby was able to get somebody out of the woodwork to say that when she was 13, somebody drove her 5 hours to the VMAs, right? And then left her alone. She started scouting limousines until she ran into a limousine that supposedly was Diddy's driver, and then she claimed all this stuff happened. And then they always want to add that little sprinkle of autism on these people so it will enable some of the stuff that they are being paid to say about people. And so I kind of looked at a lot of that stuff as a build up, a takedown, a shakedown, right? And I think that anybody intelligent outside looking in will look at that. That girl that they tried to have out there talking about she was, essayed by these two men, her story was just, it didn't make any sense, right? To me, it sounded like the girl was trafficked it more than anything. She was child trafficked it, am I saying that right? Trafficked. But that's what it sounds like to me, because it's like, who the hell drops a 13-year-old off at an award show 5 hours from their home? Makes sense. So they were able to discredit that. So no, I'm not talking about free Diddy, but at the same time, we're looking at just the legal process and some of the arguments that could rise from Jay-Z being vindicated by this lawyer that people think is kind of slimy. He has some people say that this guy has a track record of going after very, very wealthy people and trying to shake them down with a slew of allegations, right? So that they will hurry up and settle so that they can get a quick payday. And lawyers know how to leverage social media all the same to create all kinds of narratives. They will create bot firms or farms or whatever where they'll have people covering different things in their favor. Hell, I think Tisa Tells is probably one of them blogs that were probably drafted to just overcover Jay-Z and Diddy, on behalf of the people who are trying to take them down, because I don't really hear Tisa ever being objective about some of this stuff. It's just really like, oh, they're going to get Jay-Z, they're going to get Diddy, and then all of a sudden these brothers kind of skate around, the legal process, and now, right now Jay-Z has not gotten got. But anyways, he has lost all credibility. Busby definitely is going to lose credibility. And I think that just that point alone is going to cause a lot of those allegations against Diddy to be dismissed. And I from what I understand too, with that Diddy case, they're evaluating those freak off videos to see how much of a willing participant Cassie really was, because again, you could take, all kinds of plea deals, all whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop to kind of give yourself some immunity from certain things. But at the end of the day, Cassie 9 times out of 10 knew that a lot of that stuff was laced at those parties. And, a lot of these women, these bottom bitches of some of these high level celebrities, their job is to draft other bitches, right? But these bitches are not supposed to understand that the oils, the candy jars, anything that they touch could be laced with something that could put them in a compromising situation, right? But they're saying that Cassie had knowledge of that stuff. She was with that man for 10 years. And her knowledge of that stuff could still make her culpable to anything that is being alleged against Diddy, at least during the duration of time that she was with him and participating in those events. So, it's a lot going on with that, and again, with the freak offs things, I don't care about the freak offs, right? As long as we're not talking about, child, predatory behavior, which are only allegations at this point, right? I don't really care what consensual adults do with each other, right? And even when it comes to groupies who understand that when you're a groupie, you are subject to put yourself in any situation. So your judgment and your discernment, like I'll be honest, if my homegirl, if I'm hanging out with my friend, she goes, "Oh, let's go to this party," and I go to this party, and it is nothing but a bunch of dudes there, right? Just a bunch of dudes there. I don't see hardly no female. I'm not getting out. I'm not going. I'm not interested in that party, right? Because I don't like, for me and my assessment, like this may not go well for me in certain situations. I'm gonna feel like I need to be cautious about what I drink. I'll be like Dame Dash. Dame Dash was like, in a lot of parties that he went to, because he knew how a lot of those people rocked, he brought his own alcohol. And so, to me, a lot of this is assessment, right? Just because you want to be in the in crowd doesn't mean that there's not an accountability for being in the in crowd sometimes. Sometimes there's consequences for just wanting to be down with any and everything, just because you're dealing with a celebrity. A lot of these people are satanic by nature. So, anyways, that's what I got on Diddy. I don't believe that like Diddy is an innocent man. I definitely believe he's guilty of being a horrible freaking person. But in terms of all the allegations that are lodged against him, I don't know. I wasn't there, right? And I know that there's a lot of people who can be paid to say a lot of stuff to try to take somebody down. And I've said this before in live streams before. I don't cover Diddy. I didn't cover Jay-Z just because I know a coordinated takedown when I see one. That was giving coordinated takedown for me. And so I wasn't interested in just following that, right? No matter how much they were putting out there. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's a monstrous person, but I'm not going to sit up there and just say that I believe every single thing that they were putting out there. I mean, every time I turn around, it was like the allegations were coming by the 25s. I'm like, damn. And then it's like, a lot of it was, I was 25 and, I met Diddy and he made me drink this elixir and have like some rough, sodomy. And I'm just like, you're 25, like, so you're not a child, right? Okay. I can't account for that. Like, I don't condone that type of behavior, right? But I mean, a lot of people should know what it is when you're dealing with a lot of these Hollywood elite circles. They're like the least safest place for you to be. You'd be better off hanging out with your own homies. Diddy, in my opinion, has too much damaging information on a lot of people, like Epstein. Absolutely. Like, honestly, Diddy is a liability on so many different aspects because I think he's a burned asset. I think that the feds were leveraging and protecting Diddy. And the only reason why the feds are going after Diddy, in my opinion, like, honestly, we would have never heard about any of this stuff. And I've said this before. We wouldn't even know about any of this stuff. It wouldn't have been propagated the way that it was if Diddy would not have sued that alcohol company. And I think that was the real snowball effect there, right? He got beside himself. Those people were trying to be his daddy, right? They tried to punk him out of a deal. He accused them of being racist, and what they were doing was racist because they were trying to set him up to fail because they knew he was going to be successful. So, that I think when he went and he sued them folks, right, it was the beginning of the end. Had he not sued them people, had they been able to reconcile all of that in private, decent settlement, right? We would never hear about this stuff. We wouldn't, because that is how protected I believe Sean Diddy Combs was. But again, when you are a burned asset, then they start setting you up and basically scheduling, planning your takedown. And usually They need to coordinate it in a way where they make you look like a monster. So again, that Cassie video, that video was out for years, but the feds were protecting it from the internet, right? Until they had an opportune time to show it to the public. And then when the public saw it, right, there was no going back for that. Like the basically the stage was set for us to believe that Diddy was a horrific monster who beat the hell out of Cassie, you know, in that manner. He was just a savage, and that's what we needed to see in our mind. And anything else that they piled on that man after that, we wouldn't really even care or question it, right? Because we had seen what we believed to be the absolute worst thing that a man could do to another person, especially somebody that damn tiny, right? Cassie she was so damn tiny. It was like he was really just ragdolling that poor woman. But again, you know, I think that we wouldn't have even seen that if he wouldn't have sued them folks. And that's just my opinion. But anyways, you guys, have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thanks for chopping it up with me. Love your neighbors as yourself. If you would not disrespect or abuse your neighbors, or I'm sorry, yourself, do not disrespect or abuse your neighbor. And I say this in relation to the earlier conversation with these folks who are trolling these federal workers for being laid off, right? For being, quote, as Jesse Waters so inconsiderately says, they're being doged, they're being doged, right? You know, have a little bit more compassion. I mean, these people, imagine you working somewhere for over 20 years. You're not really sure what's going to become of your position now that there's a new administration. If you've been working in your position for over 20 years, that means you've cycled through both Democrat and Republican administrations. So a lot of people probably were blindsided that this was going to go down for them. So, and I think another thing is to realize that, you know, people are making the assumption. I see these conservatives trolling these people, but you're assuming that every single person that worked in those departments were liberals, that they were Harris supporters. A lot of those people working in those federal agencies, they are your fellow conservatives as well, and they are getting, as Jesse Waters said, doged. And there's nothing funny about that. There's nothing to troll about that, right? Like, you guys weren't trolling the Keystone Pipeline employees when they were laid off. When the Biden administration came in, y'all weren't out there trolling those people, right? So, I mean, just have a little, you know, respect here, you know, a little compassion. You know, if anybody's ever been laid off, it's not really a fun adjustment, especially, you know, even if these people were taking that severance package, right? It's still a drastic change in people's lives. And yeah, everybody goes through it at some point in their life, right? But it's nevertheless never fun when you go through it, especially if you've been somewhere for 20 years. A lot of people can't stay at places for 2 years, right? So that's not really an easy thing to, you know, just accept right away. I mean, so stop being assholes. And this is coming from the God, faith, and family. And I want to know, what God are some of you people worshiping to be so damn nasty? What God are you worshiping? Mithras? Is your God Mithras? It cannot be Yahusha. It can't be Yahweh. It can't be the God of Abraham. That's for damn sure. You know, y'all need to tell the truth and shame the devil. You are the devil's children. Some of y'all with that little demon trolling in y'all need to get y'all lives together. But anyways, y'all, have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your evening. Catch my live stream earlier. We were kind of talking about some of this. We got into NAFTA a little bit because I feel like some people, they're just a little confused about some of the things that Trump is doing. And again, I do find that some of the things that Trump is doing to be very necessary. I never thought that it was going to be easy. I mean, obviously, it was, it took a whole lot of irresponsibility to get the United States into $36 trillion of debt. And obviously, if anybody is trying to get out of debt, right, you got to kind of do that. And I can't really, I'm pretty sure there's some Dave Ramsey folks up in there, but you got to snowball it, but you do got to start small, right? You got to start small, right? And get rid of the small things first. And honestly see what you can flip from some of those just really gains in the small cuts. But that's what you got to do. And it's never easy. And it's just like any other corporation, when they change administration, if there's a merger or acquisition, a lot of times people come in, they put their people in place, right, to get things done according to their vision, right? And again, because the United States operate like a business, layoffs shouldn't be anything that is shocking to anybody, even though we still need to feel for the people who are laid off, because a lot of these people, to that woman's point, you over 50, you've been working in your government job for 20-something years, it is going to be harder for those women or those people to find another job. And an 8-month severance, an 8-month guarantee of severance with benefits. Sometimes it takes people over a year to find a new job. And the older that you are, a lot of times, the more difficult it is to secure another job. And that's just a matter of fact. So don't troll those people. Please, 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 if you are a halfway decent person, you see people trolling, like, just, I turn my nose up at people like that. I'm repulsed. I block people like that from my energy because they're devils. They're just demons. But anyways, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye.